be too long.
Can we pretend
to
that
edit.
the past few minutes didn't happen? Like, hold on. Guys, we'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Are you going to do the be right back story?
Hello. Can we, for the sake of the YouTube video, can we do it better this time? Just like...
What, you want to start again?
Just really quick introduction.
Okay, I'll start mine. I'll go through it quickly.
Okay. Hello,
Okay.
guys.
Right, my name is Connie. My Twitter handle is @levelofcon.
Yeah.
I've been a fan since the Blurryface era, but I started to get into the music around Trench properly. That's also when I started to develop a proper interest in the lore. So when Jumpsuit, Nico and the Niners first came out, and the music videos were like this cinematic masterpiece that had like a story behind it, and the lore became very apparent. That's when I properly got into it. So I'd say I know most of the basics. I have a fair few of my own theories for what could be happening next, but I specialize more in analyzing what's already there and finding my own interpretations of the meanings behind creative and literary decisions rather than solving riddles and finding new clues. So that's mostly because I'm an English major and I analyze poetry and things like that as part of my course. So I like to look at the lyrics and the letters and all that. That's all something I enjoy. Okay, that's me.
That's Connie. I was gonna clap and then it like logged out. Yeah, that was Connie, everyone. I'm sorry, I don't want to bore you guys. I know you've heard this already. I'm just...
Yeah, we just wanted to do it for the YouTube video.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm all free. I'm actually a free. Thank you, Connie. My name, people are like confused about how you pronounce my name. It's pronounced Ofree, but Ofree makes a lot of sense. Like, I get why people say Ofree. Like, that makes sense, but it's Ofree. Anyways, I've been a fan since mid/late 2016, so like 7 years now, and I'm really interested about the lore, and I just really want to do this podcast to get our theories out there and to even understand it better myself. So... Yeah, that was kind of a weird way of explaining it, but that's me. Oh, by the way, I'm at...
Thank you, Free.
I'm at Cut My Nip on Twitter. I hate that I have to say that, but I am. Yeah.
And then I'll just briefly remind you all that Sophie couldn't make it here today, but she will hopefully be joining us in the future as planned. So as for me, Sophie, and Ofree, in general...
Oh my god, that
we all
rhymes.
have, like... It does. Okay, I'm sorry. So we all have slightly different stances on where we stand with the lore. Sophie's generally less aware of it because the idea was that we were going to try and teach her what we know as well as what we think. But we decided to band together for the project because we want to learn from one another as well as sharing our own thoughts and theories with other people. Because we tend to just discuss them between ourselves, and we wanted to kind of like give them a little bit of a platform because we see a lot of other people discussing their own theories, and we thought, well, we've got some too, so we might as well share.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd also like to mention that most of this podcast idea was something that Ofree wanted to do. So she's going to tell you a little bit about why she wanted to do that.
For me, I wanted to create a project about the pilots for a really long time. Just something that really encapsulated like everything that I've been through with the band and like growing up with the band and like how the band came to be, how they came up with the story, you know, like as if I was making a documentary or a book or anything like that. Like I just wanted to go through everything in detail and really research because I love them. I don't know why I'm explaining it like that.
I mean, it's real.
Because I love them. Oh, I thought it was the bottom butts, but it's not.
We have slides to get through. Okay, go on. As you were saying.
As I was saying, I'm very... We'll be right back, guys. We'll be... You're doing great, Ofree. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, what I was gonna say was not important. Let's just move on. This is stressful.
Sure?
This is literally like a classroom
to?
full of people, but there's no one in here.
Okay, well, we should probably get onto the slides and mention that in this episode, we kind of wanted to start at the beginning. Not dwelling too much on the history, but more like the band starting and how we think that the early creative decisions, so in lyrics, in the music, all that kind of stuff, how we think it's still relevant to well, when all the lore began, because obviously the self-titled album, they weren't inventing the world of Dima yet, but there are parallels and there are correlations from
Oh
that
yeah.
early stage that
If
help
you
us understand now.
I think that if you ask anyone that's a 21 Pilots fan when the lore began, each person will give you a different answer. Some will say the
Yeah,
Blurryface era, some will say the Trench era, some will say it started way before that, like self-titled. But actually, I think that it started in 2008 when Tyler was
yeah,
during his senior year. He put out this album on pure volume, which is apparently a thing. It was like MySpace for unknown music artists. We'll get into that. But he put
yeah.
this album called No Fun Intended on a pure volume, and I think that that's where the lore begins. So if we can just go to that part in the presentation.
Yeah, I think you can move on to the first slide now, the second slide now.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I kind of agree with you about the lore starting early. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think they necessarily expected to create a fictional world out of the real world, but I think Tyler was definitely drawing parallels between his real life and an imaginary version of his life, or whatever you would consider the lore to be, like this fictional world as a parallel
Mm-hmm.
to his real world. I
I
think
think
he's been doing that as long as he's been making music,
I think that
and it just kind of developed into what it is now. Yeah,
yeah,
go on.
I think that it didn't necessarily uh begin as a fictional world. It was just a representation of what was going on in his head, and then it started to become more vivid, and as he was adding characters, and he said in the Zane Lowe interview in 2018 that he knew what the weather was like in that
Yeah,
world of Trench. So as things progressed, then it started to become more fictional in a sense, but I
yeah.
still everything represents what's going on in your head, which is something Tyler tried to do very early on. I mean, when you look back at the music and why he was creating music in the first place,
Yeah, it's
the
like when he said the early tracks, he doesn't want to revisit them because he made those songs to get
mhm,
himself from point A to point B, and he's completed that journey there. It's still a part of who he is, and it'll still be a subconscious part of the narrative because the narrative represents himself, but it's not
mhm,
something that he dwells on. It's just something that was there, and it kind of shows music as a journey.
yeah,
Shall we
yeah,
go
Connie,
on to the beginnings?
sure. The first slide is pursuing music. It's taken from the actual presentation. That's way too fucking long. Will we need to censor curse words? I mean, I don't think we need to
I don't
get.
think
I don't
so.
think we need to be monetized. It's fine.
No, we'll be fine.
It's fine. So, Connie, why don't
Um,
you go ahead and read while I go throw up?
okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it is Tyler, obviously, we knew that he's been writing music since he was young, teenager, 16 years old, got a keyboard for Christmas. He's just like me. That was me when I was 6, though, but I'm no Tyler Joseph. Anyway, this isn't about me. Um, so yeah, Trees. I think he wrote Trees when he was 16, didn't he? That was actually,
He was 17, actually. Um, actually,
sorry.
actually, we don't
Um,
know. We don't know. He was like 17, 18. But
yeah, around that kind of age.
the thing is, he
But
didn't.
yeah,
Actually, I had that in the original presentation. He didn't put out Trees up until literally the day after self-titled came out. He put out Trees. But we know the
hello.
song existed for a while before that because of Nick Thomas and what he said in the podcast. Which,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, if you don't know, there was a podcast called the TOP podcast, the 21 Pilots podcast, and Nick Thomas and Chris Sally both did an interview, and they're very interesting to see how the band like came to be, and to listen back to that.
Working on his original music by senior year. So essentially, I don't know what songs he would have been specifically writing on, if it's anything that we've seen today, or if it's the first solo album,
During his
which I
senior
guess,
year,
shall we go on to that?
Yeah, it was No Fun Intended. I mean,
Yeah.
he probably wrote more songs. And we'll be talking about No Fun Intended, by the way, and how that album came to be, because it actually started as a 6-track EP, not the full
Yeah, the
version
Johnny
that we
Boy
know
EP.
today.
No, that was later.
Okay,
No, yeah, I think is that on the next slide?
it might be.
Yeah, it is. It's the pure volume thing. I think we can go on to that slide now.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
So basically, a little No Fun Intended history. There was a website called Pure Volume that Tyler uploaded No Fun Intended to. It was, let me look at the date. It was November 30th, 2008. But he wrote it down, like it said on the website, November 30th, 1999. Which, if we do the math, Tyler's weird sense of humor, if we do the math, 1999, Tyler would have been 11 years old. So he wrote Blasphemy. Actually, news flash, guys. He wrote Blasphemy when he was 11 years old. What if I did the math wrong? That would be
Guys,
embarrassing.
the screams in
1999.
Save, those were prepubescent screams.
Oh my god, the pictures. Can we talk about the pictures for a moment?
Go on then, yeah.
No, that's all I wanted to say. Like,
Bigger.
they're really cute.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I think that's all there is to say about that slide, really. We've mentioned
Yeah.
the solo album.
So here's the original track list that was uploaded to the website. Taken by Sleep, Drown, Tonight, Save, Hole in the Ground, and Blasphemy. I think that it is interesting that the order of these songs is also not the same one as the order in the version that we all know. Like the main version. I don't know why they would do that. But
yeah, I don't know. There's actually a lot more tracks in No Fun Intended as we know it, because wasn't it mostly just tracks that people found
yeah.
and just added to it?
So basically, we don't know the actual source of No Fun Intended and when it started being distributed around the click. But at a certain point, and it was pretty early on, the version that we know today is like made off of the 6 tracks that Tyler put on Pure Volume and then other discovered tracks. And there's even Regional Best Trees, which people, I guess people knew
Which
that trees...
everyone loves.
Everyone loves Regional Best Trees.
Everyone loves a microwave song.
I actually listened to it unironically because
oh my God.
I never skip tracks. Ever.
This is a known fact. This is a known fact about you. You just listen to albums over and over and over. I personally can't do that, but I respect it.
Thank you. Because I feel like I only do that though because of this band. Like before I started listening to 21 Pilots, I never cared about albums or like the order of songs or anything like that. But I think I just fell in love with
that goes into the story and everything. That links to how the whole album tells the story. But obviously we'll get into that. I can't wait to get onto Trench at some point. That's going to be good.
Yeah. Oh my God. I keep
but not yet.
keep skipping slides by accident. So
I personally feel ready to talk about self-titled. Is that next? Oh wait, we're not there yet.
Yeah, we were just talking about No Fun Intended, the like mainstream version.
Okay.
Let's just wrap this up. So the other songs that we all know that people found, I don't know how they found some of these. Some of these, actually, there's a theory. There's this like CD that was given to someone that's like from apparently, like allegedly from a minister and that worked in a church that Tyler used to go to. So some of the tracks could be from there. You can go, I think I linked the Reddit thread in this presentation, so you can go and
it's like Tyler called self-titled a mixtape, but this is kind of actually a mixtape.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it's just a bunch of tracks that got associated.
By the way, I sent Connie an interview the other day of like Tyler saying, technically Vessel is our 3rd album, but really the first 2 are mixtapes. I sent her an interview of him saying that, and I was furious. Because first of all, self-titled is so intentional. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
even if Tyler doesn't think so, which I doubt he doesn't think so. I think that he's just insecure about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Because of the production quality and everything.
Yeah,
They did everything by themselves back then.
exactly. Which I also think that, they mentioned in the podcast that like Chris Sally had some knowledge about recording stuff, and I do think that album sounds generally good. Like obviously it's not as good as like a professionally mixed and mastered album, but
It's still a great album.
yeah, I love the way it sounds.
And it's still crucial to the development of the lore. Yeah, definitely.
So I think we can go to the next slides because we all know these songs. Oh yeah, here I'm talking about the Minister CD. All right.
Oh, my dogs.
Look at their old MySpace account. I mean, they probably this is what Wayback Machine shows. They probably like it wasn't like looked exactly like that. The
my
band.
laptop's going really slow.
What's going really slow?
My laptop. No, it's just.
Oh, I thought the stream.
Oh no, it's just my perception of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to load.
Okay.
Because. Okay, so which slide are we on?
Oh my god! Why do I? Why
I see it
do
now.
I kneel to these concepts? Okay, the band forming.
Yes. The band.
The band.
I love this part.
I do too. The band formed in 2009, and they probably formed in June. Chris actually mentioned. I don't know if you put that in the new presentation. You didn't. Chris mentioned that the band house. They moved to the band house in June of 2009. So that's probably why it says June 2009 on their old MySpace account. Like, it's very possible that the moving into the band house where all of the tracks and self-titled were, some of them were written and all of them were recorded. That signified the beginning of the band.
Oh yeah, because I feel like most people know, but obviously when 21 Pilots first formed, it was Tyler, Chris, and Nick. What did Nick play? Was he guitar or was he bass? Bass. Connie, I thought bass. Okay.
Did you not even look at my presentation?
No,
because I've worked really hard.
I just forgot. Okay, I just forgot. Okay. I knew the second I said
guitar,
the way, it sounded wrong.
Nick did not know how to play bass when they asked him to play bass for the band. He literally, they took a bass that was in Chris's room because he had like a bass because he had a studio of his own. He literally just picked up the bass and started learning how to play the bass. And like 3 days later, they had their first show.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah, so the band formed and it was just those three, and they moved in together. They were recording songs in the basement. Obviously, I don't think lore was on their minds yet, but when you consider the beginning of the lore in this album that they created, you have to consider it would have all been in the songwriting at this stage.
Here's my issue, because when people talk about the lore, they think about the story that we all know now. They think about Clancy, the bishops, the city of Dima, all of that. But the lore, like...
They think about it as a cinematic universe.
Exactly. But the thing is that the lore is just... The story that they've created, it's not disconnected from any of their past projects. It's just an extension of it.
Exactly. So, it's a development.
Yeah. So really, you can see that story that Tyler is telling in that way in Trench and in Blurryface very early on, because it's the same story. It's trying to see analyze your brain. Yeah. And he's been trying to do that in many different ways, and there are many songs that he's like talking about the same topics or the same things, but he's always trying to approach it in a different way, which I really like. So the story is just another version of that. It's just Tyler trying to explain the same thing that he's been explaining all along in this way.
Yeah. I think if we go to the next slide, we can start to introduce the basics of the lore. This is kind of what we hope to do with Sophie, though, which is a shame, but
yeah,
we'll go through it anyway.
Is there like a sad sound effect?
There is. Yeah. Give me a second.
That's not what I
That
meant.
one.
That's not appropriate.
This one.
All right.
So, obviously, the main characters, when everyone thinks of lore, the first character that anyone would think of would be Blurryface. Because he was probably the first prominent character to be shown in music videos, wasn't he?
Well,
around Blurryface era.
And the whole world of Trench is built around Blurryface.
Yeah, exactly. He's like an alter ego. When you think of the black and white themes within all of their music going back to the start, the side of good and the side of evil, there's Tyler trying to be good, and then there's Blurryface representing all the negative sides. So he's essentially the core.
Right, and it is a little bit more complicated than that. Like, I am scared that people are going to say that we're simplifying the story too much, because there is a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, but we're just talking about...
We're only at the start.
Yeah, we're just talking about the general concepts.
Yeah, just to kind of introduce it so then we can elaborate on individual parts.
Yeah, Tyler has been writing about the concept of, good versus evil, or like two different forces that he's battling against for a very long time.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. Then there's also the Torchbearer. This is an interesting one because we see mentions of the Torchbearer in the self-titled album, but in the music videos, the character is portrayed by Josh, whereas he wasn't in the band yet when his character was first mentioned and first became a thing. So
you lost me.
That's another interesting thing to discuss.
Because you think the Torchbearer in the Clancy letters, like Josh, is supposed to represent the same Torchbearer that's in a car, a torch of death.
Personally, yeah, actually, that's another thing about this, is that we're all going to have different interpretations of it.
I feel like, yeah, it could be interesting to discuss, but it definitely we need to do some research on that if we.
Oh yeah, no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I was just saying.
Because I'm not sure about that.
That's an angle to consider.
That's an angle to consider. Yeah, that's interesting.
We'll debate that later on.
Yeah.
This is good because we have a disagreement, and I think that's a good thing. No, that genuinely, that's a good thing.
That's a really good thing.
But yeah, it means we can discuss different angles. But I find that to become more relevant when you get to the outside, which is obviously scaled and icy miles away. We're not gonna.
Oh my god.
We're not gonna get to that yet. But yeah, obviously there's also Tyler as a character within Dima. Clancy. There's a lot of speculation around Clancy. Some people think he doesn't even exist. Some people think that he does exist.
Well,
Ned.
It's more complicated than that. I keep skipping slides because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this.
Just stay on the one with the what is the 21 Pilots lore for a little bit longer.
Okay.
And then you've also got the bishops and the banditos. They kind of represent
who's Clancy is sides. A really, really big question. A really big thing to unpack. I'm hoping we'd get to that at some point.
That's probably going to be one of our main questions that we're trying to answer, because there's so many different answers, and it's just one of those things. And then there's in terms of sources for the lore, so if you were to talk to someone who didn't know anything about 21 Pilots, who had just started listening to their music, and they were like, what's the lore and where can I find it? Obviously, music videos show there's a chronological order of the music videos where they show a story unfolding throughout them, especially the Trench trilogy. There's the DMA.org website with all the letters giving background. It's essentially a multi-platform publication of a story. And then there's even just the song lyrics themselves. It all comes together to form a bigger picture, and you have to analyze it in the order that you feel like helps you understand overall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so in terms of the basic story, I mean, what is there to summarize? There's
Uh,
essentially a dictatorship.
no, we're not gonna get to that yet because it's too much. It's too
It is,
much.
you're right, you're right, you're right.
There's a lot to unpack. The world of Trench, I feel like we genuinely we need to do just more research, even though we know the stuff. Um, that was my whole approach to this podcast, like to begin with, because we need to relearn the things that we already know and gain a deeper, more profound understanding of the whole thing, and then
I feel like
explain
it's
it to other
more,
people.
I feel like it's more about what order do we explain this in? Like,
Yeah.
we've already discussed the correlation to the real world in a summarized way. Should we go on
we
to blasphemy?
well, we haven't really done that in like a really precise way.
Okay, well, if you would like to expand on that, go on then.
Oh shit! Why are you setting me up like this?
Well, you just said you wanted to talk about it.
In the future,
Oh,
we're not
okay.
prepared. We're not
Yeah, no,
prepared.
no, I just meant on that slide we didn't really need to cover it.
Oh, okay.
So if we go on to blasphemy, I feel like that's a
Wait, you know
monumental
what? I
song.
I do have something to say about it. It
Okay.
will be interesting if in the future we will be able to talk about kind of the idea of Tyler's personal life bleeding into this fictional, which we'll put fictional in quotations, but fictional world of Trench and Scaled and Icy and the whole Dima thing. Because it is very interesting if you go back to watch the live stream experience. Tyler has put like Rosie's Rosie something in the background, and like he a lot of aspects in his real life bled through to that
Hmm.
to that performance. I do think that that live stream is like kind of the bishops becoming self-aware and like realizing what they are.
That's
But
also a topic I can't wait to get onto. It's a little bit far away now, but especially with Keon's.
yeah,
Okay. But yeah, Blasphemy, that was probably one of the earlier
we need to
songs
consider
because
that like the fact that Blasphemy was written in 2008 before any
before
21
21
Pilots
Pilots.
tracks came out, anything like that. And the first line in that song is I start to part to house in my heart in the dark. Now,
Hmm.
that's really interesting to me because that is um it brings up like few reoccurring themes in songs that we've heard from them a lot after that song came out. The like idea of splitting yourself into two parts. Right?
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like necessary to bring this up, but Tyler does have a tattoo of like the circle with a line through it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's essentially a circle split in half. And a
exactly.
circle represents a cycle.
Yeah, I mean you can go back to the cycle thing, the break the cycle in half, and you can go back to the slashed O, which is also it could represent the same thing essentially.
Hmm.
Um, so the idea of splitting yourself or the parts of your mind to good and evil, but if we go deeper than that, it's a little bit more complicated than that, and just like the parts that um are efficient to you, I guess, and the parts that hurt you.
Yeah. And I think Blasphemy as a song,
Mm-hmm.
basically in its most basic form, being about good versus evil, two sides of a person, the light and the dark, that is essentially what Blurryface is. The
Mm-hmm.
alter ego that represents the dark side.
And I think it is
So while we
interesting.
could,
Sorry.
sorry, I was just going to say, while we could argue that Blurryface wasn't a named entity at this point, he's still represented through
That is not
concepts.
even arguable. We know that.
Well, yeah,
Blurryface was not even on the table. Blurryface
I
Tyler.
was just saying that while we know that,
Mm-hmm.
we could argue that he still always existed at this
Oh,
point. He just wasn't
definitely.
he just wasn't a named character there wasn't a name to him. He just was conceptually an idea
Another
that
thing that's
existed.
interesting is that Tyler mentions in the first verse that, first of all, he starts to pour two halves of his heart in the dark. And like he's saying, taking time in a simple place in my bed where my head rests on a pillowcase. So this is all happening at nighttime in his bed, which is a very recurring theme in 21 Pilots songs. The night semi-automatic is a great example of this. Just Tyler explaining, like literally the first line of semi-automatic is actually night falls with gravity, the earth turns from sanity. So it's becoming nighttime. And then taking my only friend I know, he leaves a lot. His name is Hope. So this whole concept of things starting to deal with the questions of the difficult questions that he can't really answer in the nighttime.
And then I also think the lyric where he says that the other half of his heart is asleep. Well, if you consider Tyler in the real world being a person who is struggling with his mental health, and then him creating the fictional world of Dima, or that just lore in general, and that being like a fictional narrative, that would be what I would consider the half of his heart that's asleep. Could be how you like perceive Dima. Like it's a fictional world. It's somewhere that he goes when he's asleep. It's not a real place in the present.
You brought up a really, really good point. The whole idea of dreaming is a huge thing in the Clancy letters. There's this line in the Clancy letters. My dreams pull me from world to world, and I feel lost in between all of it. There is still so much I do not understand. There's another line like, it was a blur. I could only remember fragments, only blurred hallucinations of color and chaos like a dream. Like the whole idea of it sort of being in a weird state of consciousness and not really knowing what's going on and what's real or not.
Yeah, a huge thing for me is seeing Dima, like the whole Dima Trench fictional place in general, as being like an alternate universe that exists in a dream state.
Absolutely.
And
like I would even go back to Car Radio, to that line of my skin will scream, reminded me of who I killed inside my dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole verse about overthinking and about like what happens when he's dealing with these big questions and these thoughts, I think it really correlates. And yeah, I bet we could find even more examples of this, but just the idea of dreaming and being asleep in 21 Pilots songs is a very important one.
If you think about the line that everybody knows when Jumpsuit music video starts and he says, we were here the whole time, you were asleep, it's time to wake up.
Exactly.
And that was right after the hiatus. Bear in mind, at the start of the hiatus, there was an image of an eye closing. Then at the end of the hiatus, there was an eye opening.
They
and it was a different
the whole
color.
Sleepers. They call it Sleepers. Series before the hiatus.
It's like entering this dream world that's behind your eyelids.
I argue that sleep is one of the most important things in 21 Pilots songs. The most important motives, not motives. What it's called. The most important, like, reoccurring theme in 21 Pilots songs, sleep.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you.
Also,
it's not even just sleep; it's the lack thereof.
Yeah.
An inability
there's so
sleep.
much to talk about, because sleep could also be a metaphor for dying. If we look at like March to the Sea, right? The line will go to the ocean pier and walk right off into the sea, and then we fall asleep, representing death.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really important theme, especially as Tyler has said that, like with mental struggles and things, nighttime is when it's the hardest, when you're trying to fall asleep. That's when your mind is most active with ideas.
Hope you're dead, because how could you sleep at a time like this?
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely like you consider sleep and dream worlds to be a parallel universe where it reflects everything in the real world, but in a fictional sense. And that's what I believe.
I also feel like a lot of times in songs, especially the early on songs. Like I could think of Time to Say Goodbye and Taxi Cab, when he talks about this idea of like wanting to like be closer to God, or like that moment between life and death. Like he's not really sure if he's like in Taxi Cab. There's this line of he's not sure if he's alive or if he's dead, right? What's that line?
Am I alive or am I
Dreaming dead. Am I alive or am I dreaming dead?
Dreaming dead. Now that is interesting, actually. When
Uh-huh.
you think about, like, he doesn't even necessarily mean am I actually dead. It's almost like you can't tell the difference between being in a dream state or being dead. Like, is
Yeah.
that where you go when you die? And then that also raises the question of his kind of like religious concerns, not knowing what he believes is going to happen,
Yeah.
which is obviously like a recurrent theme throughout it, is beliefs and what he believes, what he doesn't believe, what he wants to believe.
I think we need to go on to the next slide, but that's definitely
Yeah.
that's important. Those are a few topics that we want to talk about.
Do we want to do the next slide? Because I feel like we just have to explain the entire lore.
No, at the next slide, the way when I wrote this, I just meant like when does the lore begin? Like some will say
Okay.
self-titled, some will say original at best. We kind of discussed that
Oh,
already.
yeah. Yeah, so we can skip this slide, can't we?
Uh-huh. The release of self-titled was on December 31st, 2009. No, it wasn't. Why
Was
didn't
it
you put
not?
the release of self-titled in here? On December 31st, Trees and Time to Say Goodbye were out, but self-titled was like, I believe it came out on like December 29th.
Okay.
You just didn't put that slide in here.
Oh, I might have made a mistake there. Oh, well,
Yeah,
we can just,
it's okay.
yeah. Oh, it's in the next slide.
Oh, yeah, December 29th. Wow. Good for me.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to say how in the previous slide, the wait, so did Trees and Time to Say Goodbye come out before or after self-titled?
Right after self-titled.
Oh, okay. After. Okay.
But
Never mind then. Ignore what I put at the bottom.
Time to Say Goodbye was in the demo CD that was handed out at shows before self-titled came out.
Yeah.
So that song was out. That song was the first song that Josh Dunn ever heard from the band.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Trees is obviously a timeless song that was
Trees
written
has
at a really
existed
early stage,
for a long time.
and it's still played at the end of every show.
Not really, but
Well,
sometimes it did. It usually they would do Trees. Well, in the regional best era, from the videos that I watched, usually they would do Trees and then Guns for Hands.
okay.
And in the self-titled era, sometimes they would end with Trees, sometimes they wouldn't, but they definitely did play Trees.
Okay. So, onto the self-titled.
Mm-hmm.
I think the general history we've kind of gone over. We explained about the recording studio in the basement. We explained about how Josh isn't there yet.
Josh
and it was
isn't
their
real,
first official
remember?
album.
Sorry.
Goodness me.
Sorry.
So I've just written out a list of themes that I could think of just from skimming through the lyrics, but
this is epic.
Obviously, this is epic. Obviously, these themes
Curse word detected.
I haven't written out in detail about every single theme and every single song that it appears in. I'd argue that all the themes come up in all the songs. But
I feel like this episode, I'm now realizing, should be us discussing our plans for the future rather than actually diving into the songs, because I feel like we definitely need to it would need to be more research based.
Why?
Because then I feel like theories they make the most sense when you back them up with research.
I mean,
and
wait, go on to the next slide. This is all the talking points that I thought of.
Okay, what I said right now literally contradicts the slide.
Oh.
Okay.
I think we should, this slide then.
No, it's
If
okay.
you want me to, if you want me to explain why I've written down some of these things. So Akara Tortured Death, I've already touched on that. How I personally believe that the Torchbearer is the same Torchbearer as later.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. Let's go back to the lyrics and Akara Tortured Death.
Okay, so if I can find them. Right, so in Akara Tortured Death, it says, "Then I saw him, torch in hand. He laid out what he had planned. And then I said, I'll take the grave. Please just send them all my way." Personally, I've greatly considered the plan that he's talking about could correlate to the outside.
You know, it actually reminds me of something else. It reminds me of Mark described what happened at the end of the Jumpsuit music video. When we see Tyler's being dragged back to Dima and we see Josh looking at him. He described it as Josh starting a rescue mission, and that's what happens in either Levitate or Nico and the Niners. I think it was Nico and the Niners. So Josh starts a rescue mission, and what you said right now kind of sounded like that, like someone starting a rescue mission and trying to save that person who is going to die.
You could consider that it's a plan that appears multiple times, because the thing that I've always linked it to is in the Outside music video, Tyler, it's been greatly theorized that at the end, Tyler has, well, he used Ned's antlers and he made the bishops aware of where he was, because you could see a bishop, I'm not sure which one, but you could see a bishop leaving the kind of area where they are in the city of Dima. You could see them leaving.
When?
At the very end of the music video. I remember watching a video about it.
Which music video?
The Outside.
Oh, The Outside.
Yeah. And at the end of the video, it looks like one of the bishops leaves Dima, like he's going after Tyler.
That's
the way
interesting.
He,
I'm gonna have to rewatch the video.
Okay. And the way that I always thought about it was that was Tyler saying that he'll take the grave, please just send them all my way. As if he was saying, send the bishops my way, I'll be bait. And this is when the plan is all going to unfold. Because, it was at the end of The Outside that it looked like things were about to kick off. So they've sent the bishops to go after Tyler to get some of that security out of the way. So that they can put their plan into action and try and break out of Dima, whatever it is that they're planning to do in the next album.
That's interesting, because those are two completely different theories, because I was suggesting a rescue mission and you were suggesting the exact opposite.
That is actually a very good point. I was suggesting that Tyler puts himself in danger for the sake of the Banditos doing what they want to do.
I mean,
for the revolution.
While we're talking about that, I keep thinking back to that line in Taxi Cab. He had to change his face so he could see another day. Hold on. I'm having a blackout. Yeah, something about changing his fate so he could see another day. Which is about saving that person who is probably going to die.
Yeah. Also, Taxi Cab, Tyler being in the coffin is he says in Akara Tortured Death, I'll take the grave. And then in Taxi Cab, he's in the coffin.
You know what's interesting is that I always thought that in Taxi Cab, the line was, I want to strip myself a breath. Do you know what the line is?
Oh. Strip myself of breath, isn't it?
Of breath. So, that really puts it in perspective, what he's saying.
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry, I think I kind of lost myself there.
That's all right. If he says I want to strip myself of breath, it essentially means I want to stop breathing.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
My point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think obviously Dima as a city wasn't in existence yet, but in the Pantaloon, when he says all your friends fertilize the ground you walk, that is essentially saying all of your friends are buried. And that kind of links to the concept of Dima and how it's structured and the whole thing about there being graves everywhere, the metropolis. Essentially, everywhere you walk, you're walking on the graves.
It
Like
could
there's
be,
people.
but since that song talks about being old and like it could make sense in that context as well.
Yeah.
I do feel like 21 Pilots songs, they often have two meanings.
Oh, definitely. More than two.
More than two. But I think that Tyler, as he's writing them, he also has multiple meanings in his head.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, in the Pantaloon, I think age is a huge concept. It's the fear of growing old and everyone around you, dying. But at the same time, I think that the concept of the ground being fertilized by those who have passed away also links to the whole idea that those who commit to vialism in Dima and are under the ground, they're fueling the city with whatever the hell neon is, and whatever it is that comes out of them being sacrificed. Fertilizing can be seen as a life form in itself. Like it's hard for me to explain what I mean, but that comes along into what neon is supposed to be
I feel like
in Dima.
we're jumping in too far ahead. Just
Maybe.
considering the fact that we're only in the first episode and we're only talking about self-titled.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm just saying, I think it has definitely got an ambiguity to it, but
Okay.
you can see it kind of resurfacing themes. But I just think it develops out of what they already were trying to convey, but they just made it into something more.
Okay.
I also think March to the Sea is extremely important.
March to the Sea, don't you dare stealing my theory. Just kidding. It's not my theory. It's not my theory. It's not. I'm totally kidding. But it's literally the most. Oh my god! I could talk about March to the Sea for hours. It's literally my favorite song ever written, and it totally. I think that was like the first time Tyler really created a world, and and like tried to like imagine what's going on in his head. Actually, that's not totally true because Act with a Pen is essentially the same idea, imagining his mind as a desert. And Act with a Pen, and then in March to the Sea, it's like this whole thing. But yeah, March to the Sea is definitely the way it relates to the lore. I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot to say about that, but not right now, though.
Why not right now? We're on self-titled.
Because I don't know if I could put it into words on the spot. That's what's making me nervous.
Okay, that's okay. I can say a little bit about what I think about it, and you can tell me if you agree or not.
Okay.
I mean, just from looking at the lyrics right now, there's definitely bigger concepts that I can't elaborate on too much because it would just be getting ahead of ourselves. But the whole thing about getting a raindrop in your eye, and heaven forbid they see you cry, that goes back to essentially not being allowed to show emotion.
That really reminds me of Heavy Dirty Soul. I think I told you that already.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, I think we've actually had this discussion before.
We've had this discussion of like him saying gangsters don't cry, they're further from Mr. Misty-Eyed.
It's giving propaganda. It's giving dictatorship in Dima, and it's giving the whole controlling people element, not wanting anyone to show emotion because emotion is vulnerability, and emotion means free thinking. And obviously, if there's one thing we know about Dima, it's that you're not allowed to be an individual person with an individual thought process. If you're there, you have to follow the bishops. I feel like that's kind of common knowledge enough to mention. So the concept of being someone in this world who is able to show emotion means that you can't be controlled. So heaven forbid they see you cry. What are they going to do to someone who's shown vulnerability and shown that they have free thinking.
That's very interesting. The idea of free will is actually a really big thing in 21 Pilots songs as well.
Yeah.
It's also a big thing, totally jumping ahead. The concepts of good and evil and the whole way of thinking is a really big thing in Zoroastrianism. So that's something to mention.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not
I
going to get
haven't
into
done a lot
that
of
right
research about that yet.
now. Can we take
I've heard about it.
a brief intermission? Just because we've been talking for an hour straight, and I feel like I just need to get some stuff ready.
Okay.
So, quick intermission. We'll be right back. I think it might have worked.
Can we be heard now?
It might have worked.
Did anyone hear me say rapping on my own track, I Don't Need a Kitchen Sink?
Yeah, did you hear that? I don't think anyone's here.
Shy Away Jack is here.
Jack, hello. Did you hear Connie just now? Because we're trying to see if we can mute ourselves from time to time.
We're having technical difficulties.
Can't hear anything, so I assume it worked. It worked.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, jolly good. This is good. This is good.
I have to say, Linoy, I didn't think you'd stay this long. So, thank you so much.
So,
by the way, Connie,
it
has been an hour since we started streaming.
Yeah.
We might need to hurry up a little bit.
Okay, I mean, what more do we want to cover before we end for the...
Well, let's look at the presentation first. Like, what else do we have left? I
don't think we should bother getting onto lyric parallels.
I cannot believe that I thought that we could finish the entire presentation that I made.
There wouldn't have been any way.
That couldn't have been possible. I'm not realizing that couldn't have been possible at all.
Personally, I think we should go through a few more bullet points on this slide that we're on and then call it a day. And then anything else we'll transfer over to the next one.
Oh, you put House of Heroes and Josh down there.
Yeah.
Josh's significance to Tyler is someone in his life and taking on the role of Torchbearer in the Demon storyline. Yeah, we just talked about that.
Yeah. I just want to talk about maybe like a couple more things. Like,
Oh, so you did put that in there. The like Happy Dirty Soul.
Yeah.
Correlation.
I'm not sure where I put it.
Yeah, you put it right at the like might get a range up in your eye, and heaven forbid they see you cry. So that's literally what we talked about. I just didn't know you had that written down.
Yeah. Oh, also, I think that the physical coldness is a really strong theme. So,
oh my God,
in self-titled.
This is the whole thing. Two contrasting opposites, day and night, fire and ice. This is the whole thing in 21 Pilots songs. And if I could just put that into words, that will be a whole topic of conversation for another day.
But I think especially with the way that the Scaled and Icy propaganda promoted warmth and sunny days and all this kind of like positive, like warm imagery.
Yeah.
It really contrasts the reality of it because it's all a very cold topic in Dima. Especially if you look at the early songs like Oh Misbeliever, literally talking about snow. You look at Voldsoy itself as a place where Tyler and Josh get washed up in the outside music video.
The first thought is always when you say like snow and stuff, very local. The first track, was it the first music video out of Blurryface? Because it was the first single, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Fairly local. The whole idea of introducing Blurryface, and it's in this really cold, snowy thing is really interesting.
And you know what's also interesting is if you look at snow, obviously relates to the winter. And winter, there's actually a well-known just general metaphor, not just in 21 Pilots, but in general, that seasons represent the life cycle. So spring is the start. That's when you're born, you're a baby, you represent spring. That's like things growing.
Oh, Winter of Dead in Oh Misbeliever. Now it makes sense.
So summer is when you're kind of in the prime of your life, you're flourishing, you're doing great, everything's very positive imagery. That's supposed to be the best kind of midpoint of your life. Autumn is when things start to get bittersweet. You're kind of in the like later stage of your life, but you're not old yet. And then when you get to winter, that's kind of the end of the road. That winter represents old age. Obviously, in the Pantaloon, it does, because he talks about cold bones, being old, and in Almost Believer, he talks about the cold. It's about getting old, and then obviously, eventually, we all die. So that would be
we get literally the line. We get colder as we grow older.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole concept of bones being cold also links to death. So your bones do physically get colder as you get older, and you also kind of you're in that what is called the winter stage of your life when you're old. So it's definitely something thematically going on there.
And
he talks a lot about
maybe like even like doesn't like disregarding your actual age, when you feel that you are close to death, you become cold. Might be the idea of, and like Almost Believer and like the whole thing, because obviously Tyler isn't old yet, but he might feel as though he is.
He might feel like he's in that kind of part of his life when he's obviously not feeling great.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously there's no sugarcoating it. There's the whole thing about suicidal thoughts, and that links to death. So that can make you feel like you're synthetically in a different season of your life.
Yeah.
Metaphorically. Which also links to vialism and keeping your sunny days.
I love the way you said that. Vialism and keeping your sunny days.
Yeah, I mean, then Shy Away, the snow, the blue door.
Wait. Hold on. The snow? Are you talking about the...
Wasn't it a thing in the live stream?
Oh, the live stream. Right, because I was thinking about the Shy Away music video. Yeah, it was a whole big thing.
We should plan an episode about the live stream, just the live stream.
Definitely.
At some point.
Definitely.
Yeah, because we have a lot to talk about that.
So much. So much things.
So much. Yeah, because it doesn't just have to be eras, because that would be way too much to fit as a segment about
The thing that I wanted to do is that we begin with the eras, just so we have a base.
Oh, yeah.
A base for everything that we're talking about, and then we can, break those boundaries and talk about whatever we want to talk about.
I'm just saying, if anyone thinks that this episode has been boring, I'm telling you, an episode where we're talking about the live stream. No,
just gets worse.
An episode where we're talking about the live stream, we're gonna have so much to say that you've probably never heard before, because we have our own thoughts about that.
I mean,
like, we have
probably never heard before is not something that I'd say, because...
Well, no, I don't mean new information. I just mean new ideas. Or just, like, things that not necessarily everyone talks about all the time.
Yeah. Definitely. I have a lot to say about that. I mean, that whole...
We wouldn't just be relaying facts.
Yeah. That whole thing, Tyler definitely put... Tyler and Josh, they put everything into that whole event. Also financially, absolutely. I really hope they financially recovered from that thing, because oh my god, I mean,
until 21 Pilots' 7th album comes out and the tickets are $300 each.
Yeah,
gotta get those sales up.
Yeah, their Blurryface money's running out, guys.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, what else have I not mentioned? So, Trapdoor, that's again just the kind of links to passages between the real world and the fictional world.
I was gonna comment on that, because you said nobody knows his real name. And you were talking about that line more. For those who know him knows he goes by Nico. The whole idea of the name in 21 Pilots songs, that's a whole topic that we could talk about. I mean, I keep saying that, but it's true. it's so fascinating to me how he hasn't used the name metaphor in years. And in Redecorate, I think I've talked about this with you before. In Redecorate, she have plans to change her name just in the traditional way. It links back, like the way I see it, it links back to Fall Away and Trapdoor, like to take him an aim. A new name in a newer place, because my name is lame. I can walk and I am the same.
Trapdoor greatly also links to Guns for Hands, the music video. Throws on a mask that will alter his face. Nobody knows his real name. You know, there's I meant Car Radio, not Guns for Hands. Or did I mean Guns for Hands?
Well,
One
Guns
of the
for Hands
two.
it has like I'd argue that Guns for Hands, the mask theme is actually more important than Car Radio, because like
Yeah.
you can take it off when you're ready.
Oh yeah, definitely. But then masks are obviously like, I feel like masks and names, that's a whole thing that we could discuss in an episode.
Yeah.
Especially nicknames and the bishop's individual names, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, the first song that they've ever... No, that's not true. But the first song in self-titled is Implicit Demand for Proof, and Tyler says, "Why would you let us use your name?" And and that same... I wish I could explain it right now, but I really can't. But that whole concept of you get a new name when you're dead.
Yeah.
And it talks about it in Fall Away. It talks about it in Redecorate. I just really want to get into that in the future. That's all I'm gonna say for now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think we could plan a whole episode about names because there's so many different things that names fall into.
I mean,
What was the other thing that I
we
said?
could also
the
talk
last one.
about something that I've been curious about is how Tyler came up with some of the names of the characters in the story. I mean, I've seen this theory of like Keon's having a meaning of like the god of something. And obviously Trash, he named it Trash for a specific reason, which I still can't pinpoint. I still don't have like a full explanation for that other than vultures. Do they eat trash? I think they do.
They eat people.
Also, but like, okay, when we link it to Zoroastrianism, which is a whole thing, like their whole belief is that once they're dead, that person becomes like contaminated. Like,
Yeah.
it is sort of like trash that needs to be pure again. I don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm literally noting down things as they come to mind that we could talk about in the future because it's kind of like talking about this kind of stuff has made it kind of like surface in my brain what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
They eat dead things. Yeah, not just people. Yeah, they eat. There's a term for that. I've forgotten what it is. There's a term for animals that eat. There's a word for like when animals eat meat that isn't fresh.
In the DMA.org website, there's a post. I don't know if they call it a post, but there's this like section where there's a picture of the vultures, and Tyler calls them, or Tyler and Josh, whatever, Clancy, Death Eaters.
Oh, the word I was thinking of was carrion. Carrion?
But that's essentially...
Did you know that if you rearrange the letters of carrion, you get Nico Rar?
I think we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Jack, I should say, because probably he's the only one that's here. Oh, okay. I haven't been watching the chat. I'm sorry. Jack has been bringing up some
yeah,
really
I know.
good point.
I've been reading it. That's why I was talking about them eating dead things.
They're scavengers.
The name he saw on a grave. Yeah. Yeah, I'd forgotten that word, but yeah, I definitely think that vultures is another thing that we'd have to get into.
Oh my God, vulture!
Obviously,
the thing is,
like, why is he called Clifford?
True. Sure, that's something that we need to think about.
And Jason Statham.
Jason Statham, I think we can put that to rest. I think it's called Jason Statham because it's called Jason Statham, and that's that. But really, like, there is a lot of information to go through, a lot of things that we can talk about, and like you saw right now, like I made a presentation that was like, if we were going to go through it all, like I initially wanted to, we did the math. It would take like 20 hours, right? So there is always a lot to talk about, is what I've gathered. We need structure and we need to organize the episodes, but I know what you're going to say. This will be an open discussion. It's just that we need to do the research. We need to prepare. And then it will be easier for us to put into words what we're going to say and what we're going to talk about. And then hopefully other people could benefit from that.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone over self-titled pretty well, I think. We've started to talk about how we think it began the lore.
I think that we've really only scratched the surface. And that's the thing
is we didn't want to dive too deeply into it because
exactly
most of the start of the lore links to the later lore, so we'll mention it again when we get to those points.
Exactly, and this is just the first episode. We're trying things out. We're gonna see. Neither of us knows how to do a podcast, I don't think, unless there's a podcast that you were part of that I don't know about.
No, definitely not. But I feel like we deserve to be able to think that we've covered stuff that is actually useful here for what we're going to go on to later. We've started to mention things. We haven't elaborated too much on it. We'll just progress from here.
I do want to comment on what Linoy said because I think that Trash as a character is far too important to the story. For his name to just like be called Trash for the sake of it. I remember that's what I initially thought at the beginning a little bit, but then after you go through the lore and really see how much thought was put into Trash as a character and his purpose, and I think we're going to see all of that in the next era, more so than what we've seen so far. So I do think that we do need to talk about the meaning of his name and where his name came from. We also can't forget that his wings say destroy on them, and the whole destroy and rebuild thing, the concept that was mentioned in the last Clancy we've ever heard from Clancy. Wait, Connie, what did you say in the chat?
No, I just said the wrong thing.
Okay, I thought we had like an issue.
No.
So the whole thing, the whole like destroy being written on Trash's wings and like the Clancy Road and everything.
Oh my god, I forgot about that, and that's actually.
I think that Trash is one of the main things that we need to focus on in preparation for the next era.
100%.
100%, because he's going to be a very, very important figure. He's going to play a very important role in the destruction of Dima.
100%. I think he is going to essentially set that city on fire, to put it simply. And we will actually talk about that a lot when we talk about the live stream, because me and Ofri, right, get this, guys. Me and Ofri were discussing one time what we thought was going to happen next, and we didn't necessarily have it backed up. And I remember ranting to her about how I thought there was going to be a fire, and I thought Trash the Dragon was going to set a bunch of stuff on fire.
And then I was watching the live stream experience. And after I haven't watched it in a while, so I didn't remember everything that went on. And then I noticed that at the end of Never Take It, didn't Tyler say Trash is slaying? He did say that Trash is slaying for vultures in Dima in one interview, which is so annoying of him, by the way. so annoying of him. But
I just remember that you were watching, and it was like everything that I just said was happening in the live stream as you were watching it.
Tyler was so specific about how the live stream ended, and the way he placed trash right in front of the burning car at the end of the live stream and then walked away. We will talk about this and we will play the video and you'll see what we're talking about, and it makes so much sense. And
especially because we'd said that, like, so trash could be seized and he could set a bunch of shit on fire, right? To put it simply. And
by the way,
it would
trash is seized on the album cover.
Yeah. Because the eyes, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
The yellow eyes. And we were looking at the live stream and we were like, oh, but trash burning down the city is going to be a planned thing. It's not going to surprise Tyler because he's going to know it. It's going to be part of the plan.
And then
right?
and the whole alarm that went off in the live stream, and Tyler literally not giving a shit. Tyler/Clancy, whatever you're gonna call it.
Yeah, while everyone else was running around screaming, and there was just like alarms blaring, and red lights flashing, and Tyler's just walking through it like he's completely unfazed because he knew this was going to happen. And right at that moment, he walks into a room, starts singing "Never Take It," aka the song that's mocking the bishops. That's like, "Ha, we were 2 steps ahead of you."
Yeah.
And trash is on the floor next to a burning car. So,
Tyler places trash on the floor. He wants us to see that. The camera is right. Like, it's so intentional, and I love it.
Seizing him. These are all questions we'll have to delve a lot deeper into when we fully talk about it, but it's one of my favorite things at the moment in the lore.
Yeah, definitely.
Complete diversion.
A complete diversion.
I can't remember a complete diversion.
That was in 2018. Like, are you talking about the performance? That was on the day that Trench came out. I remember that actually pretty well.
He's just suggesting that they're creating a complete diversion.
Yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense.
It does. Like, I'm not sure.
Oh my god,
that brings me some kind of diversion.
I mean,
and then Trash is going to strike. He's talking about the concert, but it was still a valid point.
Yeah, we could talk about this for hours. But Nico and the Niners and Bandito, so many clues about not only what's already happened in Demo, but what's going to happen. Things that haven't even happened yet.
Oh, apparently we were right talking about a complete diversion, like Trash attacking and that whole thing being a diversion.
Oh, okay.
See, we get these things.
So, I think to wrap this up, unless you want to add another thing to the self-titled aspect.
I think I've gone over most of what I could think of there. We've kind of strayed away from that now, so it wouldn't feel natural to go back to it, I don't think.
Okay. So, I think to wrap things up, I think that I've prepared a video in the original presentation that's like 200 something slides long. I think there was a video they wanted us to watch. It's not the dance video, sadly. I really wanted us to get to that maybe in future episodes. It's just really funny. It's not the dance video. It's this one. Connie, do you remember this one?
What one's this?
Oh, I need to screen share so Connie can see it. I'm going to screen share.
So this is our final
video.
Ending to the live stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that noise? Is everything okay?
Yeah, I think that was you screen sharing.
Okay. So, the last video, very, very symbolic. I think it really captures everything that we've discussed in this podcast episode so far. So.
Okay.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Sing. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do
went from rockin' to player.
If you're an OG Mac or a wannabe player, in the hood's been good to me. Ever since I was a lowercase G, but now I'm a big G. The ladies know I got the money and the dollar bills, yeah. It's all because this is how we do it. Obsession does it like nobody does. This is how we do it. To all my neighbors, they got much flavor. This is how we do it. Let's flip the track to the old school man. This is how we do it. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Did we enjoy that?
Brilliant.
I enjoyed that very much so.
I
I actually
enjoyed
kind of
that.
like because there's another video in here.
Oh,
I swear it's the last one.
okay.
It says
Alright.
click if you dare. I don't know if you watched this far, if you got this far to
I
this
don't think I did.
presentation. Oh my god, is it the wrong
This
link?
is how we do it.
It's definitely it's the wrong link, but I remember where the video was.
Okay.
Oh, it's not the wrong link. It's just loading. Can you
Alright.
see it?
Yeah, I can see your files. Trees in really good quality.
Did you see the whole thing? I honestly
No.
thought you didn't see him falling down.
Oh no, I was kind of looking at the live stream.
Well, I was telling you to watch the video. Whatever.
Okay.
Fine. This is how video is how we ended. Whatever.
Okay.
Um.
Well, anyway,
Anyway.
so basically, we've come to the end, and I think we should just mention that we're gonna plan what we want to talk about more in the future. Obviously, this was mostly about self-titled and the
I
kind
just
of beginning.
want to take this moment to clarify that in the next episodes, it's not gonna be as shit.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not. It's
hopefully.
not. We'll
We
get
want
better.
to, yeah, and we'll hopefully have Sophie too. So we'll have a
Hopefully.
third
Hopefully,
third
guys.
perspective.
Mhm.
And we'll try, because we ended up changing everything last minute. We'll take the time to try and collaborate with one another this time and make sure that we're all on track with what's going
Oh
on.
my god, right? Because I did this whole thing, and then at the last minute we were like, wait, that's not what we want to do. And I was like, wait, really? Like, we didn't have that discussion before?
But yeah, anyway.
And yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we're gonna try and plan exactly, like, I don't know how we're gonna do it yet, but we're gonna work it out as we go along. I think as we start discussing things, new like themes and topics will come up that we have way too much to say about.
Yeah.
I think, Jack, we're planning on doing Friday next week. Are we planning
Yeah.
on doing Friday?
I
And it
think
might
so.
be
Next
similar
Friday.
time, but not the same. But on Friday, because
It
we're
really
all free
depends
on
on everyone's availability. I haven't asked Sophie yet, so I'm really not sure. She said she'll
Mhm.
probably be in the Friday episode. So
Yeah. So yeah, we'll plan for next Friday.
Yeah.
Which is in 5 days.
oh my god, I was totally fine until you said that.
It's fine, it's fine. We
It's
just
okay.
gotta, I think we'll
I feel like
probably, I guess we'll focus on,
realistically, we'll have like 10 bad podcast episodes until we get to like that 11th episode that's just like perfect.
no, I think we'll have a few dodgy ones and then we'll really get into the swing of it.
Yeah.
But I guess next episode we'll talk about regional at best, maybe Vessel. It depends on how much there is to say about regional at best.
There is a lot. Hello.
Okay, we'll talk about regional at best. I think we do one about each album, covering the basics, and then we go into specific themes. That's personally what I think, but we'll discuss it as a team and decide what we're going to do.
I haven't set my mind on what I want it to
Okay.
be. Yeah.
That's fine. We can work it out.
Yeah, but collaboratively this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's going to talk about my blood.
So for the last segment, actually I thought we were done. I don't know why I said that. I just think it would be funny if we would stage a fight and then go to the be right back screen. But like pretend we didn't just say that.
But yeah, I also just want to say thank you to the people who did come along because we weren't sure if anyone would. and we're actually surprised, to be honest.
Actually, Connie,
and
you're so
appreciative.
annoying. You're so annoying. Guys, we'll be right back. We'll be right back. We're back.
Poor. Oh, yep, yeah. Okay, bye.
Oh, okay. We're just back to say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. We'll be right back, guys. We'll be right back.